Hey everyone, this is Brad Hughes, School Principal and Chief Encouragement Officer from Ontario, Canada. And I've got some good news for you. You found the Good News, Brad News podcast, amplifying stories of heart-led educators moving from positive intention to action. Great people like you, improving kids' lives through service, connection, and finding the fun. So glad you're here. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to 2021 and welcome to the Good News, Brad News podcast. I am your host, Brad Hughes, and as you settle in and get comfortable, please mind the velvet rope and don't trip on the red carpet because this is the premiere episode of Good News, Brad News, and what a way to kick off the new year and introduce you to my guest today, Jillian DuBois. As you'll hear, Jill is an in-person and distance learning educator. She's a partner, a parent, a content creator, a blogger, and an emerging author and illustrator of a brand new book called Seashells. Now, Jillian and I discuss her one word for 2021, and maybe you have a one word or have been contemplating a one word to guide and anchor and inspire you as you live into the new year. Now, my one word for 2021 is restore. Restore. And since the onset of the pandemic and school closures back in March of 2020, I've been guided back time and again to a vision that we would find ways to restore schools as places of physical and emotional safety in our communities. And my wish is that we may work together in 2021 to restore health, security, and hope for the many that have struggled and suffered because of the pandemic. And I'm determined to do all I can to be a restorative presence and a restorative force for others. And this podcast is a part of that. I want our time together to be something you come to look forward to and leave feeling glad that you made the time to tune in. I want to add positive energy and value to your day, your outlook, your work, your life by connecting with others that, like you, are committed to improving kids' lives, one person, one interaction at a time. So, I know you'll enjoy getting to know Jillian DuBois today, and after hearing her story, you'll be eager to connect with her too. So here's my interview with Jillian DuBois today on the Good News, Brad News podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Good News, Brad News podcast. We have a bright, sunny day here as I'm having a bright, sunny conversation with a dear friend, Jillian DuBois, an educator, a family member, an author, an illustrator, and above all, just a heart-led human being who currently resides in Florida, USA. And Jillian, welcome to the Good News, Brad News podcast. So glad you could join us.
Thank you. It is such an honor to be here. And it is. It's just like talking with a dear friend. So I am excited.
Jillian, we were just talking a little bit before we went on air here about how we have come to be connected and we've been able to stay connected through Twitter and through the work of the Teach Better team. And what we have both found remarkable as we're reflecting on our own connection and on the connection with others is that there is tremendous power, tremendous opportunity in these connections, even though we're separated necessarily by geography and we're separated by these little Zoom screens. And I'm wondering if you can just talk with me a little bit about how you have found your own personal learning network and personal support network growing through the pandemic.
Yeah, it's powerful, isn't it? It's something that's very difficult to describe when you talk to somebody who is not actually in it. But it's more than just a network of people. It is community. It is fellowship. It is friendship. And that is the cool thing that I think we have found last year, but also even going into a new year. We're still in a pandemic, but we're going into the new year with that foundation and that connection that makes it even stronger, which is so cool. I mean, I can't wait to even develop. It's kind of like you find your own, kind of your crew of people who you are like-minded and kindred spirits with. So when you find those people, you latch on to them. They're stuck with you. So, and when you get stuck with each other, it's like encouraging and supportive, and it's just a fantastic family.
I would say, Jillian, that to know you is to love you, and to know you is also to want to connect further with you. So, with that in mind, if you can just tell me a little bit about all of your different roles, what you bring to your connections in terms of your educational life, your family life, your community life, and your aspirations. If someone doesn't yet know you, what would you like to tell them about yourself?
Wow. Well, in a short little blurb, I guess I would say that I am a wife, I'm a mom, and I am an educator, first and foremost. So those three things are the big things. But also, I do live in Clearwater, Florida. I teach second graders, and I have taught second grade for 5 years. Before that, I was in public school education, and I taught third and fourth grade for about 15 years. So going on 20 years here. And it's exciting every year. It's like a new job every year. I love it. It's my favorite thing to do. But more interestingly, I guess I've kind of like broadened my horizons a little bit. So I've started a website, I've started blogging. Most recently, I have published my first book, which I wrote, I authored, and I illustrated. So I am just learning more about me every day. So even though I'm telling you about myself, I'm still learning too. So this year, it's just all new. Like there's an open road in front of me, and I'm ready to go. So
Now, Jillian, you and I and others in our network, and maybe others sort of across the world, are contemplating the start of a new year, 2021, and maybe we're thinking about selecting a one word for the year, a word that is both a guidepost, it's a word that anchors us, it's a word that sustains us. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about where you've come in your journey through the pandemic in 2020, maybe about what your word for 2020 was, and how you're springboarding from 2020 to these new opportunities in 2021, and what your new word or what your one word for the new year might be.
well, interestingly enough, I came onto the Twitter scene about May. So I was late to the party, the one word party. So everybody already had, a matter of fact, when I started looking at everybody's Twitter bios, it said one word bold, one word gracious, one word start. And I'm like, what in the world are these people doing? Like, I have no idea. I had never heard of one word before. So, yeah, so seeing everybody's words last year, kind of inspired me to. I started thinking about it early. Like I started thinking about it in August. So it took a while because you just don't know where your life is going to take those little bumps and turns and obstacles. So getting through all of that and getting through this year, I came to the conclusion that I just want to be content. I just want to be who I am, accepting of who I am, and not worrying about what other people think about me, which I've done my whole life. So letting go of that overthinking everything, that perfectionism, that I can just, be satisfied. It's like a peaceable satisfaction, I guess is what I would say content means for me. But on the flip side of that, Brad, I think you kind of encouraged me to look at that another way too, because content is a homograph. So, and content is the other side of that. So, content, yes, I'm going to create some more content this year, whether it is blogging or courses or journaling or writing another book. I have no idea what that's going to be, but that's the fun of it. So, content and content, yes, is my one word, 2 for 1 for 2021.
And Jillian, your most recent content, namely this amazing picture book, "Lives Seashells," is heartbreakingly and heart-liftingly sparkling in its content and in its approach to celebrating. Well, anyway, I'm not going to give away the ending, but what I would love you to do is if you can tell our listeners a little bit about how Lives Seashells came to be, and when we talk about content, um, how Lives Seashells allows you to learn about yourself and reveal more about yourself to yourself, if that makes sense, and
Yeah.
about yourself to your readers. Take us into Lives Seashells, if you would.
Yeah. So I created this little character. Her name is Liv. She was based on my sister. Now, my sister's name was not Liv, it was Lisa, but it was hard to say Lisa's Seashells. That was a tongue twister. So I changed it to Liv, and Liv, because Liv lives. So my sister lives through Liv. And my sister has passed about 8 years ago, and we were very close. But she was the type of person who loved life. She was compassionate and empathetic, and she was not the popular girl by any means, but she was that caring, loving soul. She took the people that she actually drew people to her that were broken and downtrodden and needed attention. And she just lavished her attention on those people and those kind of people and drew them in, and just was giving, generous, loving, she just shined. So Liv's character is kind of based on that. So Liv lavishes her attention on broken things. So she loves the seashore, which I love the seashore. So that's partly why I made it around that kind of environment. But she picks up shells that are broken, that are chipped, that are cracked, that are not worth anything to someone else, but they're worth everything to her. So, and I won't tell you exactly what happens, but the general idea is that everyone is worthy. Everyone is valued. If we just stop and we just listen and look for those people that need our attention. And, they're out there, and it is really our job, and it is really in our nature as human beings to be compassionate and to be kind and caring. So it's just kind of a little lesson for everybody, not just kids, but adults alike.
And I'd say amid the worry and real danger of the pandemic, the world has never needed compassion, empathy, and I guess decisions to see and hear with our whole eyes and hearts. It's never been needed more, and that's what I find so uplifting about you, Jill, and about Live Seashells, is that it is just a perfect piece of encouragement needed at the perfect time. And when I think about your intersection of creating content as well as your contentment, I mean, our listeners can't see, but I can see your contentment reflected in the ease with which you talk about Live, and the ease with which you are content with yourself. And I'm curious if that road to contentment has been a long one, if it's been a short one, if it's been a rocky one. How is your road to contentment going?
That is such a great question. I grew up um, in a very loving home. Grew up with an amazing mother and father. Um, and we had our own obstacles in the way as we were growing up, my sister and I, that we had to overcome. But I always felt that need to be perfect. I always felt like I wasn't going to be accepted by my family, by my friends, if I did not measure up with actions, words, thoughts, deeds, everything, grades. So I struggled most of my life just going, I can't do it anymore. And I will say that it took the death, probably losing, and the grief of losing my father and my sister to kind of step back and go, wait a second. I don't have to perform. I don't have to be that person. I don't have to be accepted. It's kind of like until they were gone, I didn't fully understand that that was not the intention at all. That was not what anyone expected. I had put those expectations on myself, and I had put that burden on myself. So when I finally understood that and was free from some of that, I just started working on myself, working on my marriage, working on my role as a mother, working on my role as a friend, and a daughter, just trying to let go and recover from all of that stuff that weighed me down. And there is nothing more freeing than just being able to tell yourself, I'm okay. I am who I am. I need to be content with who I am. I am wonderfully and fearfully made, and nobody else is like me. Nobody else is going to tell my story. Nobody else can tell my story. So yeah, and that's only been probably in the past 5 years. So this newfound joy really has only been short-lived, but I'm living it every day. So.
And I know you share that journey with such humility too. And I know that contentment or peace of mind is often very, very hard fought and hard won. And I wanted to get your take on something that I read very recently on Twitter. It may have come from your account or one from one of our colleagues, but it had to do with grief. And the idea, which was like an aha for me, was that grief is a form of love for which we have no I guess no target. We have love stored up, but we have no one to express it to. And I'm wondering how your journey through grief has led you to express love in some different ways.
Oh, wow. Um, Grief is, it's so, especially when, I've had a friend who recently lost someone too. And to kind of share that burden is something very special. It's hard to describe it, but it's almost like just that kindred spirit. You can go, I know exactly what you're going through. Been there, done that. And it's not a one and done. It is, a matter of fact, it's not even a year and done. It's not 2 years and done. It is a continuous process that you continue to evolve and learn even more about yourself through grief. What I have looked at differently is that, these people are no longer in my life on earth, but I still think of them and I still picture them in my head. I picture them, this is going to sound funny, but I picture them sitting right there beside me on my shoulder. And I can say, hey, you know what? I wonder what my dad would be thinking right now. Or I wonder what my sister would say about this that I'm attempting to do on her behalf. So I kind of look at it through my little angel's eyes, but it gives me new perspective, and it gives me that, you know what, they'd be proud. They'd be laughing. They'd be having fun with me right now. They'd be, all right, you go, you do it. You do everything you need to do and want to do. You can do this. So I feel like they are just like my forever cheerleaders. So when you kind of have that and you've gone through those stages and you come to the other side of grief, because it's not gone, it's still there, but you look at it from a joyful perspective, it just makes all the difference.
And your connections are actually reaching people and spreading that joy literally around the world. I know how excited I was to share a picture when my copy of Liv's Seashells came across the border here to Canada. And recently, I happened to learn about a joyful connection that you made with a student in China. And I wonder if you can tell our listeners a little bit about that situation and just take us through that.
Yes. Oh my goodness. They are my little special kids. I have taught on a virtual platform for about 3.5 years. And I teach students in Beijing. They take 30-minute classes, and I teach them English. It's a total immersion program. I do not know any Chinese, but they have become incredibly proficient at English. So when I showed them my book, I showed them some of the pictures, and they were all just like all eyes. They're 9 and 10. I have two students. I have Helen and Grace, and I have two students, and they just were like, oh my goodness, you wrote a book. And I'm like, well, let me send it to you. So I sent it to them. It took 2 weeks to get there, about 2.5 weeks. So today was actually the very first day that I got to talk to them and see them with their book, with my book in their hand. And it was so cool. And one of my students, Helen, she says, Teacher Jill, she calls me Teacher Jill. She's Teacher Jill, I love the pictures. I love your drawings. She goes, but I don't understand all the words. And I said, well, let's talk about that. I said, what words do you not understand? So she was able to pick up the book. She opened the book to a page that had the word treasures on it. So she says, what is azure? I'm like, it is treasures. I said, and Helen, treasures are anything that is special to your heart. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can be something simple. It can be something that you just love that is close to your heart. She goes, oh. And I could see her little mind thinking. So, and I read her the paragraph about Liv and finding her treasures for her seashells. So we talked about that for a moment. But at the end of class was about to end, and we always give each other big hugs across our Zoom screens and our little hearts. We love each other. And then she says, Teacher Jill, she goes, you are my treasure. Oh, I said, oh my goodness, Helen, sweet girl, you are my treasure too. So just, we don't speak the same language. We don't live in the same country. We are entirely on the other side of the globe from each other. But oh my goodness, that heart felt just that one sentence, and I tell you what, there's power in relationships, whether or not you can speak them or just be there to listen or hear someone. It's all in watching them and looking at them and knowing that there is something special there.
Jill, I will tell you without any hesitation that you are a treasure to me, and the intentionality and the love that you communicate and cultivate on all of your channels is purely authentic. And I think that really speaks to not only the power of what you've created in Liv's Seashells, but also the transcendent nature of who you are, and why you do what you do. You're able to reach across borders, across continents, across languages, and this is what we're all aspiring to do: is to share that love and to put love out there first, for a world that needs it more than ever.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I always say that's what we're here for. We are all here at the same time. We're on the same planet, and we should have the same purpose: to love one another, to care for one another, show that compassion. And the more you do it, the more you kind of put yourself out there. And it's always a chance you take, because there is some vulnerability to it. Actually, there's a lot of vulnerability to it, because you don't know who's going to like you, who's going to think you're crazy, who's going to think you are the most wonderful person in the world. But it doesn't matter. Who cares? You know what? You are just you. Shine it out there, be loud, and be proud.
That reminds me of one of our colleagues, Ray Hewart, who encourages everyone to give today's best, and do it unapologetically, do it from the bottom of your heart, do it with all of the fun and energy that you can muster, and then people's responses to our work in the world, that's none of our business, but it's totally human to take that so personally. And so, when I think about your journey through grief to contentment, when I think about your journey from sort of a novice tentative content creator to now a published author and illustrator, wow, what an incredible journey, and what an incredible gift you've given to me for our conversation today, Jillian, and to your readers and to our listeners. This has been wonderful. Hey, if I was to ask someone in a few years, hey, Jillian DuBois, what do you think might Jillian's most important contributions to improving our world might be? What do you hope they might say?
Oh, wow. I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. I hope that it is infectious. I hope that just my little piece of the world that I'm influencing, I hope that people take that and they become little lights, and they instill and infuse it in other people too. Because, what a great thing. Just a little tiny piece of joy, spread it around and watch it grow.
Jill, I know people are going to want to connect with you, and they're going to want to connect with their own pieces of joy through your channels. How is the best way for them to keep and stay in touch with you?
I have a little website. It's JillianDuBois.com. And on that website, you will find my Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, all of those good things. But mostly I'm on Twitter, Jill DuBois 22. But yeah, I'm here. I'm around. I'm not going anywhere.
And listeners, all of those details so you can get in touch and stay connected with Jill are going to be in our show notes. Jillian DuBois, what an incredible afternoon of conversation. I'm so grateful for your time. I'm grateful to know and stay in touch with you. You make me better. You uplift me on a daily basis. And I'm so glad that we have gotten connected. I know that we'll stay connected. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you, Brad. I feel the same way about you. So I like the good news. It's even the Brad news makes it even better. So.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Good News Brad News podcast. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment wherever you found this podcast. And if you like what you heard, please recommend Good News Brad News to a friend. And please hit me up on Twitter. I'd love to hear from you. You can find me at Brad, B-R-A-D, _Hughes, HUGHES. I look forward to hearing from you and to reconnecting with you on our next episode. Until then, get out there and do amazing things.